Hello fellow people persons, Nate here for another MMO play first look, this time for the rebirth of MMO Luna Online. Now, I don't actually know anything about the previous iteration of this game. To be honest, I was surprised to hear that it was being relaunched, given I didn't remember it ever launching in the first place. So, I have to take the developer's word for it that the game is now much improved and streamlined, even if the improvement doesn't necessarily extend to the game's graphics. Luna Online is a nostalgic dose of very generic MMO from back in the grindy, slower-paced days of games like Ragnarok Online or EverQuest. It takes place in a fantasy world of which 3 races are playable, one with its own class path. Humans and elves get access to the same classes, starting with the typical trio of warrior, rogue, and mage, branching off into more advanced paths from there. I have to admit, I was a little disappointed to find that the game's advertised amount of classes are a little bit of a misnomer. There aren't so much many classes as there are many different class paths, as the bulk of the classes you can choose from are just roads on a very long journey. Each class has its own assortment of abilities that evolve as the class advances, with the third demon-like race having its own very linear class advancement path that can't be deviated from. Instead, they seem to differ from one another with the skills that players can choose to progress within. Progression is quite slow compared to most modern games, due in part to the traditional systems that don't pamper the player. There's no teleport, so you'll be running back and forth quite a lot, and while a mount is given for free, it's not that much faster than simply walking. You'll find yourself traveling across several maps just to turn in a quest in town. While scrolls can be purchased to escape directly to town, money is in short supply and required for upgrading skills. Primary source of money comes from quests and selling dropped gear, which are also needed to deconstruct for crafting materials. All of this together means that everything, from materials to money, is in short supply, to the extent that simply splurging on healing potions feels like a choice between growing stronger or playing longer. Quests provide the majority of your experience points towards leveling up, but you'll be running through plenty of them each level. Add to that a heavy EXP penalty upon death and the ease that one can become overwhelmed by aggressive groups of monsters while soloing, and it's easy to see how progression can feel like it's moving at a snail's pace. The slower leveling might not be a bad thing depending on who you ask. The continued success of Lineage 2 proves that there are players who enjoy the death penalties and the slow travel. I personally don't mind it taking a long time to grow in power. I might even prefer it to some extent. However, this preference is usually based on the assumption that there are many different things to do to keep me otherwise entertained. The problem I found with Luna and other older generation games like it is that progression is really the only hill to climb. When I have only one goal and it takes forever to achieve, I lose interest quickly, as opposed to being given multiple goals to achieve that vary and maintain my perception of growth. From what I played, Luna offered a very linear, predictable experience that didn't deviate much from the primary objective of kill monster and gain EXP. I played the game for a while trying to get to my first class change, choosing the wizard path for a novice mage character. Little changes upon class advancement. You still have your previous skills, but you also gain access to new ones, though nothing about your role or your look changes to reflect that. I continued playing primarily to see if the game opens up a little bit more after advancing in classes, but my lot in Luna life remained overall the same, with yet more quests sending me to grind yet more monsters for yet more NPCs. This is the part of the nostalgia that I could do without. The game does help move some of the grind along with an innate botting system, something I generally see in less favorable light for full-blown MMOs, yet for Luna I can't really imagine playing without it. Battles are all fairly slow and monotonous, with even the basic enemies having loads of health, so that kill 20 goblin quest can grow stale very quickly. The botting system is pretty simple to set up, and can be set to kill only enemies that you need for your quest, letting your character work and toil away at a quest while you go and do something else. In my case, I ended up spending quite a bit of time alt-tabbed. There's a few other features such as cooking and crafting, both requiring materials earned from killing monsters and deconstructing your gear. However, the feature that seemed to have the most promise was building a farm and a family. Unfortunately, this requires a second player's avatar and consent, and nobody wanted to have my babies, so I didn't get to try that out. As I touched on earlier, the graphics show the game's age, charming at times but washed out and bland in others. While graphics don't necessarily make the game, there's no part of them that I found exciting, no part that excelled or immersed me in the world I was playing in. The Perfect World games are a good example of lower quality environments and characters that, with careful texturing, lean towards stylized and painterly, making it easy to ignore the dated models in favor of still attractive and highly detailed textures. The same can't really be said about Luna, where even my upgraded spells looked very nearly the same as the ones I was using as a novice class. Luna seems to be trying to establish itself as a very casual social MMO. There's not a whole lot about it that's exciting, but the side excursions such as crafting and cooking might be a boon to those wanting a relaxed, easy game to play online. The addition of the in-game bot also frees players up during combat to engage with the community, which seems to be growing with players missing some of the older generation of MMO feel. And that's it for this review of Luna Online Reborn. Be sure to subscribe for more and let me know in the comments what you think of the game.